Nokhud Offensive. So it's a Dragonriding dungeon. Which should say it's a dungeon that has a Dragonriding in it. Which I'm sure some people are very angry about, but I think it's really cool. And Dakor on our team's actually played it with a few of the people in his guild. They did seem to really like it. So, basically, this dungeon takes place in an instanced version of the whole Onoran Plains zone, right? There's these windy tornadoes that are going around the place, and they actually lift you really high up to help you traverse. And there's a bit of a weird thing where it does seem to like reset some of your speed if you've already attained blue speed, which is what regenerates your vigor bar. So that is kind of weird. Now, could be that in Mythic Plus, to some people, this will be a bit frustrating depending how lenient the timer is. And I suppose at a higher level key, people will always be trying to optimize the Dragonriding as fast as humanly possible. But I think we'd all far rather have a more cool dungeon that's more fantastical. It's making better use of the game mechanics.
Yeah. So
to me, fundamentally, this is a big thumbs up and it's really cool.
Yeah, to anyone who might be concerned, I have to be inflammatory here because I feel like I need to, because I hold this opinion very strongly. If you go Dragonriding, that's not gameplay. I don't want it to be M+, then go fuck yourself profoundly, because it is now gameplay, and that's what we're dealing with. So just get good at Dragonriding then. If people are like that is a case of I have just imagined a person in my head and gotten very angry at them.
There you go.
Even though they're not real, which is what everybody online does, and it's half of what we do here. But it's that idea of if people are like preemptively angry on behalf of other people, to go, no, this is cool. Sure, it might bug a little bit every now and again, maybe, because what doesn't bug with movement in World of Warcraft? But it'll be fun. It is a net gain for the entire player base. More or less of, fun. I get a fun. That's new. But yeah.
It means they can change up the feel of the dungeon. They can actually do cool shit with the Dragonriding. This is neat.
Yep.
I guess it's like we don't want this Blizzard that feels like they have to be terrified all the time. Like everything has to fit into a template and everything has to be super defensive, and you can't have like... you can't make a bit of content where, there's a bit of a downside, but there's a really big upside, but you're so afraid of the downside you won't do the cool thing. Like a Blizzard that's always having to play defense is one that's never going to push the game forward.
Exactly.
Like that, in that mode of design, the only thing that World of Warcraft can do is stem the tide of people leaving. And if the game's actually going to grow and evolve and get better, then they need to take risks. They need to actually do shit like this.
Yeah, I was saying this in chat on your stream yesterday. There's a video coming out on the Bellular gaming channel that is, there's one coming out tonight after this stream, but there's one coming out, not next week, the week after maybe, depends on how the schedule goes, but basically addressing all that stuff and talking about like the development philosophy of like, you need to make people not be bored. And I don't quite go into it in this video, but that's like something planned down the line of talking about like what actually is content and how do you actually keep people playing your game. There's this kind of version of, how to put this? The initial, like, I guess, to show you how the sausage is made a little bit, the working title in my head for like what the video is about is Final Fantasy XIV will never be good enough. And obviously that's FF14, not World of Warcraft, but the same thing applies where if you continually go, hey, here's more content for the most ravenous, content-hungry people, and you go, okay, like, how many raids would be too many raids? We were like, if you move to 2 a season at the sacrifice of Dragonriding the world content, if you move to 3 a season, then would players who raid a lot be happy? Or would they find a way to go, this isn't, maybe not, it's not enough, but this isn't good enough? In the case of, say, we were talking about, say, Fated raids. An example of the, like, what if they had a Fated raid that ran alongside a raid every season?
Yes, please.
And then you go, well, that's 2 raids, you've doubled the amount of content. But then we immediately had all those defensive ideas pop up, all that, but.
A million reasons why not to do it.
Yeah, because, then you'll have people having to split their time. Is that too much time spent? Is that going to damage the experience? Will that ask too much in Mythic guilds? What about BIS item lists? What about like general loot targeting? How does the vault work with that? And I would use all these reasons to not to do it. And you can imagine all these like raiders having these thoughts. And you're like, well then, I guess idea is to make everyone slightly happy instead of trying to chase the 100% happiness of a certain group. And that's the idea of that dragon riding is like, this will be, like I said earlier, this will be a net gain for people. People will be happier on average, assuming, it works and is fun and stuff, as opposed to, well, we have to make M plus the perfect M plus, which is just kind of a, if you super focus on one audience, it'll never be good enough, but you make everyone happy by going, hey, here's a little bit for you, here's a little bit for you, here's a little bit for you, and everyone's like, yeah, that's good.
It also helps the dungeons not blend into each other and feel all the same.
Exactly.
Which, there's a risk that M plus can do that to something. I mean, obvious differences sometimes even get exacerbated at a higher key or whatever between dungeons, but I don't know, just it feel different. It'll be a more novel experience. People remember it more.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like novel experiences in the rearview mirror, they stand out more in your head.
Yeah,
right. Like Grimrail. People remember Grimrail. People are certainly going to have new reasons to remember it now that there's sanguine and explosive inside Grimrail. But like people remember Grimrail because of the train. They remember Maw of Souls, for the farming, but also because it was the cool one in the boat. It was the Grimrail of that expansion. Yeah,
it's weird because I think there'll be a couple of people will think that's kind of down to spectacle and go, oh, it was a moving train. It was so new and awesome. But it was more that it was new than it being awesome. It was more like a cool reframing of what a dungeon is, because it was the first time a dungeon was ever moving. Even though it wasn't moving, the dungeon was just flat and the background was moving.
Yeah.
And now you can break it all by getting the potion and not seeing it move anymore. But yeah. So there is just something about that kind of novelty. And to be fair, I think they've mostly nailed that. It's just the problem that Mythic Plus, because of how players approach problem solving, they boil it down to an MDT route on a map. They boil it down to, let's do this as fast as possible. Not even do with the time. It's just the novel experience is boiled out for M+, because they want to get to the purest form of gameplay. Which is definitely, that's fine. But it's not for everyone. It's the same point as, they could maybe release a Devil May Cry game. Maybe like a mini game or something. Or like a spin-off. That is just Bloody Palace. That is just the endless, here's combat room forever. And here's you have all your moves, you get to try everything, you get to, the character action fans would go, okay, this is the gameplay I want, this is the pure form of gameplay, I get to just fight all day long. But then you're losing so much of what, everything else in that series. And that's what M Plus does, and people think about, dungeons are just vehicles to M Plus now. It's that is the way the end game structure, it'll feel that way. But you're kind of almost in the, I can't believe I'm going to do it again, a fucking Bruce Lee metaphor, where I can't remember the movie, but as he's training someone and he gets him to point to the moon, and he goes, if you focus on the finger, you'll miss all the heavenly glory beyond. And that's just the idea of, there's more than what you're looking at in your frame of vision, which is basically to say all this novelty stuff's really cool.
Yeah, and they're trying to do more of it. We'll get into that later with the rock climbing and the cataloging, which is kind of like Pokemon Snap and all that stuff.
It was Enter the Dragon, yes, thank you.